You got challenges that you're going to run across.
So they would point that out on when y'all would have film day or whatever. Would that be for the defense only and the offense only? So y'all would be there and they would point out some things in front of everybody?
Well, so when I was at Bama, like I said, Gene Stallings, our head coach, man. You talking about holding you accountable, and he didn't care who you were. He point you out. So on Mondays, so when I was in school, after our games on Saturday, we would have Sunday off. Now, some people do it differently. Some people go in on Sundays and have Monday off. But back when I was in school, we would have Sunday off. We'd go in and have meetings on Monday. And basically, Coach Stallings would call it Tell the Truth Monday, where basically the whole team's sitting in there and we're watching the good and the bad. And it didn't matter whether we won or lost. That good and bad tape was going to get showed, and he was going to point guys out. And, I mean, like, I'd be sitting there like, oh, man, he about to get to that play where I missed that tackle or I got ran over or something like that. So, I thought that was good because, it puts you on the spot in front of your teammates, and you had to make a choice, a decision. Are you going to keep letting that happen? You're going to come in here every week and he's going to talk about the same thing, going to talk about you. So I thought that was really good. He held a lot of guys accountable by doing that.
Are you doing that?
Say again?
Are you doing that?
You know what? I do some of that, but, what I tend to do, I try to let my coaches take ownership. The way that I coach, I talk about my defense coordinator. He's the head coach of the defense. Offense coordinator, he's the head coach of the offense. And so I try to let those guys take ownership. So I do point some things out. I will do that every now and then. I won't do it every week. And, now it's a little bit different as far as just the way we do our meetings and stuff. Like I don't like to take up too much time having the whole team in a meeting for 30 minutes because now the NCAA says that you can't you can't spend with 20 hours a week with those players. So we have to be strategic in how we do those meetings and stuff.
Ed said the most important thing is film study. Why? Because you have to watch yourself repetitively over and over and over again doing the same things.
I'll never forget this. The first time I met Ray, he said, believe what you see and what you study. What you study on this tape and what you see, it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of time when.
Me and him always used to say this. You can fool us once, but you will never fool us twice. This guy, they're gonna put this same formation and they're gonna flip it. But this same play, I want you to watch. I hesitated. Go. You saw me? Watch this. Hesitate, hesitate, hesitate. Go block, right. Now watch this. A few plays later, that same play gonna come back to haunt him.
If you got beat on the play the week before or in the first half, they gonna come back to it. Like Ray said, they came back to the play.
Same play. Remember, this time, the tight end was on the line to the right. That's why the game is so repetitive.
Believe
It'll never
it.
change. Look,
Believe
you'll
it
never get me
now,
twice.
guys.
You'll never get me twice.
Believe it, man. Believe it.
The game is mastery, guys. If you're playing against Peyton and Peyton comes up to the line and he sees Ed cheating, he checking. If Ed checking, Ed looking at me saying, Lou, we got to switch that. We check. Brady come to the line, Brady checking, we checking. Switch that, switch that. No, we got to go this side. No, tight end going to go on motion. Right. But when you have to play against minds, every little thing is a chess match. It ain't checkers. In college and high school, y'all playing checkers. Usually the best player can double jump and do all this. Man, when you get to the league, partner, it's a whole nother ball game.
Did you play other sports? You played basketball or baseball?
I played basketball growing up and ran track growing up. Track was, I really enjoyed running track, love running track. Matter of fact, I thought I wanted to run track in college because I ran in high school. So, I went out to the end of my freshman year. They had this thing in Alabama called Alabama Relays, and they'd have teams from all over the country come in for this meet. And I mean, they were from everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I remember Alabama. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I go to the meet, and so, I'm in the stands watching because I'm thinking about going out for the team. And there was a guy that went to high school with me that was faster than me. He was running at Southern Miss. There was another guy that was the fastest guy in the city that was running in a race. And one of my teammates, a guy named Kevin Lee, who was a second-round pick to New England, wide receiver. And so all these guys could fly. And they're running the 200 meters. And so they take off, and we're all trying to figure out who's going to win. We didn't know the other guys, but there were two guys that smoked those guys. I'm talking about blew the doors off of them.
Really?
After that, I didn't want to run track no more. In college. I was like, forget that. I know those guys are fast because I've been running against them.
I'm about to take you back. You probably didn't even know this. Did you know they used to have track meets at Legion Field?
Didn't know that.
Watch this. My dad taught at Hudson Elementary School over in Carver, over North Birmingham, right down the street from Carver, right? So is Hudson still there?
Hudson, actually, I think it is still there. I don't know if it's a school anymore.
But he also coached track. So when I was real young, I would go, and if you know how the where all the fans walk around the field, the stadium around the gate, that was a track.
Okay, I can see that now.
Man, I'm gonna tell you something. When you would come around that track, it was actually like where the locker room is.
Right.
That was like a tunnel. So players, track stars would, when they were running that 100 meter, what you call it, 480? The 480?
100 meter, they would run through the tunnel?
Yes. And boy, somebody would go through the tunnel first and they'd come out on the other side behind. Because you couldn't tell. Once they went through that tunnel, you couldn't see. And so they went through that tunnel and looped around. And when they came out, it was always somebody else. Because in that tunnel, somebody would walk them down. Man, that was crazy. I still remember sitting in the stands watching that because we would see everybody go in that tunnel and we would wait for them to go around the locker room and then come out on the other side. And there's always somebody else that came out on the other side, man.
Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. That was back in the day when they did that at Legion Field. Which sport do you think has the most, where you have to be the most mentally tough? I know you're gonna say football. That's what you play, but is it? What do you think?
Well, you know, obviously, I would think football, but I think in all sports you got to have a level of mental toughness. I think you've got to, you know, whether it's basketball, baseball, you get up there to the plate. You're up there by yourself, all eyes on you. Whether you're a pitcher, you know, or whether you're the guy that's up the bat. All eyes on you. So you got to have a certain level of mental toughness to go out and compete. And to do it over and over again and, you know, be consistent in what you do. That's the thing that you're always striving for. Like we talk about, for instance, you know, with our team, you know, I talk to our guys about it's almost like school. You know, you're always trying to be perfect. You're always trying to make a 100, make an A+, all that type of stuff. Now, we know that's not always going to happen. Right. But we want to get as close to that as possible. So I think you've got to have a level of mental toughness to always be striving for that. And even when you don't have success, it's like I tell my players, you know, I remember playing in the NFL, and it's kind of funny. It's all about the matchups. They used to have a show called NFL Matchups, and they showed this left tackle against this DN, this cornerback against this receiver, all that stuff. And to me, that's how it was. And so I can remember playing ball games that we lost the game. Well, we won the game, and I might have felt like I lost. And somebody said, why did you feel that way? Well, because the guy I was going against, he had more wins against me than I had against him.
On film day, you're gonna see that.
Yeah. So that was kind of my thing. I tell my guys, look, you're always trying to win your matchups, and you want to be as close to 100% as possible. Now, that ain't gonna always happen. Like I tell you, you know, I can remember playing NFL and, you know, playing safety when it was passing situations. I used to cover, like, you know, the top tight ends, like Tony Gonzalez or Shannon Sharp, or sometimes I cover like the good pass catching running backs, you know, like Marshall Faulk, guys like that. and that's tough duty.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I can remember one game. I was in Cincinnati. We played Denver, and I had a pretty good game against Shannon Sharp. That year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 2 years later, I'm in Washington, and he's with Baltimore with the Ravens, and we win the game, but I felt like I lost because he caught like 6 or 7 balls on me that game. He didn't score. He didn't catch a touchdown.
Yeah.
But man, he gave me that work that day, and I
was he
like,
talking smack or was he what?
No, he wasn't talking smack. He was just playing. I mean, like
Okay.
he was locked in, focused. He was playing, and he had
He
an answer.
remembered that. He remembered you. He already said, "I got to get this back."
You know what? I kind of thought about it like that because I said maybe I think he must have thought about the game before or whatever. So
You got challenges that you're going to run across.
Make sure that you like and subscribe and hit the all button and all that kind of stuff because we're going to have a lot of good interviews on this podcast.